This is Rita Dairit, and this is Buhay Parang Life, where we discuss issues about this thing called life. Thank you, my dear viewers, for tuning into this episode. I invite you to please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook page. Buhay Parang Life is part of Faith Watch TV, and I encourage you to download the Faith Watch app on your mobile device. We read and value your comments, and we are always looking for stories to feature in our program. So please feel free to write down your comments and suggestions below. Today, we have with us a wonderful lady. We will know more about herself as we conduct the interview. My honor and pleasure to welcome to Buhay Parang Life, Miss Ollie Lucas. Hi, Ollie.
Hi, good afternoon.
Ollie, you are one of the founding trustees of Unang Hakbang Foundation. When did this foundation start?
The foundation was created. It was established in December 1999, because our first full year of operations started in January 2000 as Unang Hakbang Foundation. Before that, what we were doing was a project for street children. It was a Saturday program for street kids that became that morphed into a full-time day center for children.
Oh, all right. So before creating the foundation, you were actually working with helping street children.
Already, yes. And that's how we obtained our experience. No? It's not that we organize so that we can help street children. It was we organize so that we can continue to assist, or that we can continue what we started.
Tell us more about yourself, Ollie. Why do you have this advocacy? Why do you do all this mission work? Where are you coming from?
In the beginning, where was I coming from? We were, we needed to start a project because it was part of a it was part of a commitment we had. We were a group of ladies from a civic organization, and this was something that we were required to do. Do an outreach project. So I started this mainly because I thought, hey, children, that should be seen. Children, children. And at that time, that was 1996, 1997. There was a lot of concern about the situation of street children. That was also the time that Father Rocky, became very, popular and famous for helping street children. So, everybody was thinking about street children in their heads. So we started this without knowing, what it was that they're about, who they are, what they are. And so what we did is, we started, let's say, actually, I met with Father Rocky at that time, and he said, just start in any way or form, and then grow into the job, or build your knowledge base. No,
so
and we started then.
Your first time to be with the street children. How did you gather them? In what area were you in?
Since we're all based in we were based in Pasig. We started at Shaw
Boulevard.
At the time, Shaw Boulevard, EDSA Shaw. Remember? Before East, before Green,
Shangri-La?
Yeah, no, Shangri-La was already there. No, it was up. But before Green Heights and before the Greenfield, no? Before
the Greenfield District, right?
Yes, before the Greenfield District. Remember, that was a collection of small malls, a very middle market, and low regular malls, right?
Okay.
And then there were a lot of kids that just gravitated toward that because there was a market. Remember, it's a central market.
I kind of remember. Yes, there was a market there. So there were children around that market.
There was a lot of kids around that market, and then there were a lot of kids actually, on the street also at that time. They like to clean your windshield. They want to beg, or they
oh yes, okay.
Windshield, right? And so what we did is that one evening, group of us came around and then talked to the kids. It was actually quite a very different experience. I've never gone to that street actually that late at night, about 9 p.m.
9 p.m. All right.
Yeah. All right. And then we saw, it's also my first experience of not being able to enter, you know, the fast food shop. No, because we gathered some 10 or 11 kids with us, told them, okay, we want to talk to you. And then, where would we talk to them? And I suggested, hey, I want some place where there's light and there's, a little bit,
So you just
light.
random.
I don't
Did you
want to,
just-
I don't want to talk to them here in the street and all of that, right? We got to get a place where, we can sit down.
Of
So
course.
I thought, okay, so we were going to go into, there's some fast food shops there, and we couldn't enter because
What?
they didn't want the kids in.
Oh,
These kids were a little bit too, they
not
felt
dressed, not
not
dressed properly.
dirty, all of that stuff, no.
Right.
Anyway, eventually, one of the people that we were with, I mean, she's at the time, the vice mayor of Pasig, Lorna Bernardo. And then she said, okay, I know of a place here. They let us enter. No? So we went to this, it's not like Carinderia, but it's actually a small little restaurant. No? There was a
Okay.
second floor. So we went up to the second floor, and that's where we were. We were able to sit down, properly, and then, have a chat with the kids. And we asked them, okay, who are you? Introduce yourself. Ganyan, no? And then we broached the idea, if we were if we were to meet with you, maybe say regularly on a Saturday, maybe in the morning, would you like that? And then we'll do games, and then we'll give you, we'll have a little bit of activities, do reading, and then you can sleep also if you want, and then we will have lunch. And then they said, yeah, that's fine.
Oh, so it was received very well. What were the other reactions? What were their expressions when you were like talking to them? Like even when you just invited them to go out with you to a place where you can talk to them, were they not like parang
Scared?
there no unbelief or who are these ladies?
No, I think they did because we're very maybe personable, no? They actually trusted us, no? And then that they came around and then we talked to them. I think at some place I think I did a recall sheet on this, except that I changed my old computer, died on me, so I can't find those files, no? But I know I did a little report, on what happened there and what some of those kids were saying. No?
So this is your core group, this group of 12 children. What did you learn about these children? Were they like homeless? Did they go to school?
Most of them, none of them went to school, right? And then they were not exactly homeless. They had homes, no, but they left home, and they left home because yeah, they had homes. I mean, they're not lacking in parents, no. But the problem is that either they felt that they needed to help at home, so they had to like work, so they would beg on the street, or some of them didn't really care for their home life, all right, or else they were driven out because they have a stepfather now. Their father is in a different place, so and then their parent is has another partner and they don't like the partner. A lot of it is actually the family situation.
Okay. So what were the reactions when you told them that you want this to be a weekly thing? Were they excited?
Yeah, because there's something to do,
And you will feed them, right?
Yeah. But let me tell you, I mean, I eventually learned that feeding is actually not the issue.
Really? Really? Oh, look at
No.
me. I am thinking that as long as there's food, they will welcome anyone. So what
No.
was the real issue?
The issue, at least because they are still children, no? They're like 11, 12, 13-year-olds, okay? What they like is, activity, all right? They want to be able to play, and a place that's safe to play in. So it is still like, what other kids want. They want to be able to study. Your problem there is that since they've been out of school for a long time, there's a lack of discipline in their lives, no? It's actually very hard for them to sit still and then try to learn to read and write, no?
Okay.
Okay. So the Saturday program worked very well for them because, and it worked, I think, for us also. It's a very short time. So it would be open like at, I think at, we'd open at, we'd be there by 9, then we would all leave at about 1 o'clock. No?
Oh,
And
that's a long time, huh? To
yeah,
encounter them. So
yeah.
I imagine that from that core group of 12, you eventually grew into, I'm sure they invited. And what did they say? Did they ask you, can I invite my friend? Can I tag along someone I know?
No, that didn't happen.
Oh, oh that
No,
did, oh,
because it's like
some of them.
everybody rose to their level of incompetency.
Say that again. They rose to their
Their
level.
level of incompetency. Remember the Peter
Why
principle?
do you say that?
It's the Peter principle, no? Because then you understand that even if you think, even if you know that you have children, right? A lot of our children, we take them to school, all right?
Yes.
So 8 hours of the day, they're actually not with you. They're with you only, let's say, in the evening, and then on weekends, and then you plan a weekend with them, and then that's it, right? You don't you we're not we don't create activities. I know it's a different world today, right? I know a
Right.
lot of families now, hey, they create events and activities for their kids, right?
You are
But
correct.
my
Yes.
generation, that's not the
Yes.
case.
I am kind of guilty. Yes, yes.
Okay, so you eventually figure that, hey, there's a limit to what you can do, right? You don't know how to play games. You don't know how to sit still also just to have them talk to you, right?
Because they do not have structured activities that is, initiated by their parents.
Yeah, no, we don't. We didn't do that, right?
Oh,
So,
you didn't do that in the
yeah, we didn't
Saturday
do
group. So
that.
what? So
So
you're kind of in at a loss of what really activities to offer them.
you're not at a loss. You can Google. There's so many things that you can actually do, right? But then if you give it to individuals, unless they were really into this, no, it's hard for them to get into shape and even do storytelling, for example.
Right.
Read a story. Okay, that becomes a little bit more difficult. No, I mean, we had one day. Okay, let's bring a story. Give me a storybook. And of course, they bring in, English storybooks, right? But these
Right.
are children who do not know English. So when you read the story, you have to translate.
Right.
And they couldn't translate. No? I mean, the whole thing became a bit of that was a bit of a mess. No? Or else somebody, brought the book. She doesn't wear her eyeglasses. She couldn't read the book, no, because she doesn't wear her eyeglasses normally because it's not something that she does, right?
So you are saying that, but you said earlier that these children, they have hopes.
Yeah, they
What
do.
are they sharing to you about their hopes?
Um, you know what? Well, their hope, of course, is always, to be off the street at some point. Okay, but I think I think my first experience with them, I realized that children are children regardless of their situation. So a street child is a child. Okay, so at a certain age, what they like to do is fun and games. No, and then but they will tell you that they have hopes in order to be able to go back to school and then eventually also to work and to do better, to do well by their families, right? Because some of them, a lot of those kids, half of those kids that we met actually lived in a place called Calbayog. That's a street off in Mandaluyong.
So
It's
parang is that parang
yeah.
a developing community as they call it now?
Yeah.
Right? That's how they call it now, right?
Yeah.
Developing
Yeah.
communities.
All right. Yeah. So it was very underdeveloped community at that time. It is now a more evolved community. So, a lot of them live there. But at the same time, they prefer going on the street because their lives where they are actually extremely constricted. No? You have very small homes. Maybe you have about 4 or 5 other brothers and sisters.
Right.
I mean, you have one kid. He couldn't sleep in their own house because it was too hot and too small. So he would actually already sleep, outside in a cariton. No? So it's actually a small step to the street from there. No?
Did they ever complain about having too many siblings? Like if they live in a small home, like, ang dami kasi namin magkakapatid, ang hirap. Did they?
No, none of them ever did. We had a student, no, architecture student. She's actually from, she was studying in the U.S. She's Filipino, but and then she came here on a scholarship, Fulbright scholarship, and then she was writing her paper on, homes. What is a home? On what the Filipino home should be. And
All
we
right.
asked the kids, no, then to, okay, draw. What is your ideal home? And I think she thought that, we would find drawings of beautiful houses, no? And then of, this is my living room, etc., all of that. What the kids drew were actually simply their families, their parents, their siblings, their grandparents. And what is a home is where everybody lives. A home is where your family is. No? A home is not a structure, it's a concept. No?
So even for those children, that is their concept of a home.
Yeah.
That's kind of consoling, huh? That, that is their definition of a home. So how long did this Saturday group, how long did you do this?
We did this for a couple of years. And then after that, we had to decide whether or not, we are going to have to, stop or it should continue.
Right, Oli. So like couple of years. So some of them became teenagers before your eyes.
Over time, yes. Now I see them, they're adults with children. In a sense, I have grandchildren with children.
Did they eventually talk to you about boy-girl relationships, about going to college? Kasi pag teenager na, it changes, right? And they have warmed up to you over the years, like they look to you to all of you as their nanay.
That was actually when we already organized Unang Hakbang, right? Because remember, it's only 2 years, so they were only 2 years later, they're only 13, 14, 15-year-olds. Eventually, when we organized Unang Hakbang, we were trying to focus again on getting them back to school. And then, of course, then we had experience of puberty, right? All of this, partnering even among those kids who used to go, who you would come over to us. But understand, we are day center, so they never slept there. We did not shelter.
Right? Oh, so Unang Hakbang is a day center. It's not a shelter where they sleep. So they go back. They go back to their
go back to wherever they want to go back to.
But as they moved on, as they encountered you on their Saturday, did they spend lesser time in the streets? Like, were they encouraged to go back to their homes? Like, because when you found them, they were street children.
Yeah.
But as they encountered you, did they like go back, stayed at home, or do some meaningful work, or go to a public school?
What happened is that from a Saturday program, we became a regular program. So we used to open from Monday. We used to actually be open all days of the week, Monday to Sunday.
Is that for different groups every day or the same group?
There's a core group that will always be the same, and then there will be new kids who come.
Oh, all right. So it became like a school.
No, it became like it's like a clubhouse.
Like a clubhouse, and you will be there every day.
For these kids, they would come there every day. At that time, by that time, since we already formed Unang Hakbang, we had a staff. We had at least one staff that would stay there. Okay, and then there were a lot of people who would volunteer. From everywhere.
So now you're talking about Unang Hakbang being already formed. So you formed Unang Hakbang. Oh, what was your mission? What did you envision for the foundation to be? Who would it help?
We envisioned that it would still help children. Okay, I think what we learned over those 2 years is that these kids have so much innate resiliency. They have resiliency. They have innate resiliency. That means that
they have innate resiliency. Yes.
They know how to help themselves. All right. They may not know the structure of how to help themselves best. Okay, but they have the capacity to do that. You know,
Oh, okay.
right? They have the capacity to help themselves. And so when we formed Unang Hakbang, you know, our agenda there, or at least our vision there, is to help kids, no, nurture that ability, no, to create their own future.
So how? So there were volunteers. How did you get volunteers?
Oh, those are friends, and then they volunteered other friends, and then we worked with schools, you know, that would come, and then they would, they would volunteer for the day, no, because remember at that time we already had NSTP, so we would partner with schools. They would be there. You have certain days, and remember, as I said, the day still was all about activities. No, you have art. Okay, you will have some reading instruction, right?
Okay.
And then you would have games. No, you would have storytelling. You know, all of that. So the kids came for that. They really came for activities.
Okay, so tell us, Ollie, in your long experience with your work in Unang Hakbang, if I ask you most memorable experience, what would be top of mind?
Actually, top of mind was when we started to do, top of mind for me is always when there is a change, or where there is a change in my own view of what these kids are about, or what life is meant to be about. Okay.
That is a good one, Ollie. Let us talk about that. So your view of these children, they change.
Yes.
As time passes, how did it change? What was the change about?
For example, the first time, our first year, during our first year, as I said, we had volunteers, and then the volunteers were going. Then I had a new set of volunteers, But then at some point, I didn't realize that people all go on vacation during the summer break, Even the nuns that we had volunteering went on vacation.
Everyone is on vacation, okay.
Yeah, And so at some point, I was there on my own. This was still a Saturday program, So I was there on my own on a Saturday, and I thought, okay, do I really want to do this? I'll just do what I can, and what I can is, I'll just go there, and I'll just go there, bring the sandwiches or food, and then feed them, and let's see where it goes, so that I keep maintaining the Saturday, right? And what happened was that a lot of the kids left
because
we had about 80 kids before, or even we had about 80 kids coming in every Saturday already,
right?
Average, And then so eventually, they left, one by one, and then all I had eventually was like this 12 kids, who were really the street kids, because we had other kids who were actually their neighbors in their community, which is District Welfareville, which is another developing area, Calbayog. And those kids did not come anymore, because they had to travel.
The reason the kids left the daycare? What would be the reason?
The day center? Why did they leave? Because
the day center, okay.
Yeah, eventually I found out because they said it was not fun anymore.
Because they were growing.
No, because all I had was food. There was nothing else that I provided.
Oh, so it's really not the food. It has to be fun experiences.
Yeah, you're selling an experience, You're not selling food. Okay. All right. And then I had these 12 kids who kept staying there, which are actually the street kids, the ones who really are, in effect, inhabitants of EDSA Crossing, and they kept staying there. And then I was telling them afterwards, I mean, about like 4 or 5 Saturdays after, I asked them, "Why are you still here?"
Correct. Why were they still there? And what was the answer?
Because all we're doing here is I come, I give you some sandwiches, and then I told them that the food even became smaller and smaller because of and then but they told me, this little boy, he was 10, he said that you'll come here because you're here, and walang iwanan. That's the first time I ever heard that phrase.
Walang
iwanan. It's like, I'm family, they can't leave me because I'll go there and I'll be there by myself.
Oh.
And I thought at that time,
it's so heartwarming, huh?
I know, but I thought, hey, if you leave me, I'm okay with that. I'll just leave.
I want to ask you too. Did it ever occur to you to stop? Like, didn't you get tired?
I did. That's why I told you, I,
Did
I
you? What kept you going?
because these kids expected me to be, because these kids felt that I'm part of, it's like I'm part of their family. They can't leave me behind. Well, I wanted them to leave so that I can leave. You know what I mean?
Walang iwanan.
Walang
Walang iwanan.
iwanan. So it's like, kung hindi nila, they won't leave me behind, but how do I leave them naman, no?
Right, right. I know. So what about frustrations? I'm sure there are many in missionary life, maraming frustrations. What would be top of your mind right now?
Okay. I mean, it's like, some of these kids, we eventually got them into, at that time, LaSalle had a program called LaSalle Night High School for Street Children. Okay? So we would send kids there. And then, every now and then, almost actually initially every week, we would be called in because these kids of ours were doing something that they should not be doing. No? I mean, at least at that time we had staff, so she was the one going there. And I remember, it's like, one time, one kid got called. We were called in because one of the kids shouted at another child. So I asked him to shout. He says that because I was telling him to pass his paper and he wasn't listening to me. So I shouted in his ear, pass your paper. No, it was so, so we were called, no, because you shouldn't be, that's bad manners, right? Right. And then also, at that time, the Salvini Hills, if you brought in like Coke bottles, you would get the refund of, I think, 25 centavos per bottle. Remember before?
Yes, right. They would exchange, but that is money.
That's deposits, right?
Like deposits.
So we were also called in because these kids were like, the regular the kids in the regular kids felt harassed because there's this child who's beside them, waiting for them to finish their Coke so that they can pick up the bottle.
So the parent, you were always the one being called by the school.
Yeah, because we were the ones that brought them there, right?
We were the ones that brought them to them. So how is the foundation now at present, Ollie?
Right now we're different. Now we're really a lot different because we no longer are state children are no longer our main primary beneficiary. Our primary beneficiary now are in-school children. Okay, but when we talk of in-school children, we're still dealing with children who are on the margins. That means kids who might not make it through school because they can't read and they can't write.
Right.
Or they do not have it's not that they can't read or they can't write. They can read and write, but they can't read and write well with any kind of fluency. So that it's like, as one kid said, no. So she was already. When I was listening to her, she was already, I think, 13 or something year old. And then she came to us first when she was 7 or 8. She was in grade 2, and then she said that she's very grateful to UHF because when she was in grade 2, first grading period of grade 2, she wanted to quit. No, and she says she wanted to quit because everything was a haze to her. She didn't know how she passed grade 1, but she moved from grade 1 to grade 2. But then at grade 2, she just couldn't understand what was going on in the classroom.
Okay.
She said, I remember her words, para bang she was saying it's like a haze. She said it in Tagalog, can't remember. Parang
hindi kasali, parang
parang malabo ang lahat, di ba?
Malabo ang lahat. Everything is like vague.
It's like vague, hindi niya maintindihan, no? And then hindi niya maintindihan. She's sitting there and then wala siya naiintindihan, no? And she says, it all changed when she got into UHF because here there was somebody that helped her, helped her with her exercises in writing and in math and in reading. And then she says after that, she says, parang lumiwanag. That's actually her words, no? Lumiwanag, no? Everything just cleared up, the haze cleared up, and then there was light, and she could, pick up.
Wow. You are doing a tremendous job, Ollie, and I'm sure that your faith has something to do with your being able to keep up and continue the work that you do. What is the role of your faith in this mission?
Okay, in this case, the role of faith is actually here. Your faith is your um, it's not your rock. It's just simply, you trust in God to be able to make things right for these kids. Okay, so that all you're doing is because this has a lot of, as you say, you have so many frustrations here. There are too many limitations, no? And there are many kids also that you can't that doesn't respond, who will not respond to you. Okay, and then there are many kids maybe that you think might fall by the wayside, no? Because you can't reach them, you don't know how, or you don't have the resources to do to address their specific needs. But I think over time you realize that it's actually not you that changes these kids, no? It's they change themselves, and how it is that they do that, for me, is grace.
It's grace.
All of that is grace. It's not anything that you do. I think what you are able to only do is maybe help manage their process, help them to give them a way station so that
Right.
eventually they can gather themselves and move on.
Street children is a huge problem in Metro Manila. We see
Yeah.
them everywhere, and you have encountered them. If the government is listening to you, to us right now, what would you like to tell them? To
I
tell our government?
I think the most important thing actually for these kids is to give them a sense of stability. All right. A lot of the programs of government is about rescuing children, no?
Right.
So that they can, take them off the street and do this and that, no? But I think the most important thing is to give them a sense of stability so that they know they can count on someone. I think most of them, I don't think that you should actually move them away from the street, because that's part of their friendships that they have there is part of their support group. I mean, you have to understand, no? These kids actually travel in packs because that's their support group. No?
So you are saying the street is their playground,
The street
their
is their
country club.
Yes, yeah. But you see, we always think that it's unsafe, and it is, not because of all of the cars. So I
Right.
think that the best situation would be for me is that the government puts up like day centers, places where the children can feel safe, where they can have activities. You don't force them to come, but you do have a lot of attractive things that they can do there, so they can come in, because these are kids, no? But I'm only talking about those maybe are 14 and below. Once they hit 15, they change. Okay, that's a different thing altogether. At 15, they're like adults. No? In fact, in our center, our average age was always in about 12, 13. Most of the kids, when they get to 15, 16, they feel they age out. No?
Oh,
They
okay.
feel that they've aged out. But I think what we now have, at least in the format of Unang Hakbang that we have now, is that what you can do is teach them how to help another child. Because currently, what UHF has is a lot of peer tutors, kids who help other kids.
Right.
So we start with tutorials for those in kinder to grade 3, and then we encourage them, to volunteer to be a peer tutor. And the peer tutoring is very, very empowering for these kids. No? They feel that they have a stake in what you're doing. They feel that they are connected, no?
Right.
To the whole community. And so now we have kids who are even in college will come back to us and then tutor.
Oh.
No? So we have this whole group, we have about 150, 160 kids, who will tutor another child. No? And we actually organize the tutorials in a more, we have a very we do organize the tutors for these kids. No? So they're not, and then we require a certain amount of volunteer time for them in order for them so that they can say they're part of UHF. No?
How can someone help UHF, Unang Hakbang Foundation?
Well, they can volunteer. No? We have
Volunteer as a
tutors, they can
tutor?
volunteer. Yeah, they can volunteer. We have our peer tutors. Most of our peer tutors require some assistance in doing English, in improving their English language facility. So we need that. We need also, of course, we need some support, no? Financial support. And what they can do is support us in supporting a peer tutor.
Thank you so much, Ollie. Is there anything else you want to add? What is your hope for the future of UHF for the next 20 years?
My hope is that it will continue, but it will continue, and it will be run by the kids that we are helping.
Very nice. That is really something to hope for. Thank you so much, Ollie. Thank you, my dear viewers, for watching this. Remember, if you want to help Unang Hakbang Foundation, just send us a message. This is Rita Dayrit reminding you today, haba-habaan ko ang pasensya sapagkat ang buhay parang life.
The big thing that we wanted to do when we started this was simply to be able to be there for kids and be able to know who they are, no? Just simply to be there, and then so that we can understand them.
Sumali po ako sa Unang Hakbang kasi po hindi po ako marunong magsulat at magbasa. Gusto ko magsulat at magbasa po para maging pulis.
Bilang isang tutor, nagbo-volunteer po ako na tumulong at magturo sa mga kapwa kong bata na hindi man sila marunong magbasa, makaintindi sa binabasa, and then sa mga kahinaan nilang subject, at akin ko rin pong ibabahagi para meron silang matutunan.
So we understand that they've told us that what they want to be, what really drives them is this wanting, to be better or to be more.
Pangarap ko po maging nurse ng mga baby dahil po mahilig po ako magbuhat ng baby.
Sa bawat batang gustong matuto, sa bawat guro na gustong magturo, sa bawat batang natutong mangarap, sa bawat guro ng katuwang sa pagtupad ng isang pangarap, isang hakbang lamang ang kailangan para tumulong. Ang Unang Hakbang Foundation ay bukas upang tumanggap ng anumang uri ng donasyon. Sa nais mag-abot ng tulong, maaari niyo po kaming tawagan sa mga numerong ito.